Hello and welcome to another Doctor's Assistant 1 video. Today I'm doing a Doctor Who classic Doctor Who review even, of Death of the Daleks. So without further ado, I'll go over the packaging. The packaging consists of John Pertwee there, as well as a Dalek being blown up and destroyed and whatnot, as well as a Dalek beam and that, the Exelon City in the background, as well as what predominantly is some Exelons. You've got the John Pertwee years 1970 to 1974, Doctor Who, Death of the Daleks, the new BBC logo, showing that it's kind of, a more recent release, or newer release. And on the spine you've got BBC, PG, Doctor Who, Death of the Daleks, and John Pertwee there, as well as then on the back, similar sort of information, the bio, special features, Doctor Who, Death of the Daleks by Terry Nation, the runtime and original release date of the story, as well as the strip of images and screenshots from the story. Then you've got on the inside the disc art, with some nice art even, and then you've got the writer's notes. So yeah, a little bit of a funny thing really, innit, that my previous two reviews have been Dalek stories, so yeah, I'm on a bit of a Dalek high, as it were, and binge watching a lot of classic Dalek stories, so yeah, I'm in no rush for the Daleks to come back in the new series, but yeah, it's a decent story, Death of the Daleks. I was torn between originally reviewing Robophobia and Death of the Daleks, this one, but because of this recording, I've already reviewed Robophobia. I just thought, you know what, next review, I'll just do Death of the Daleks, because I was wanting to do that, but as I say, I was torn between those two. So, yeah, here I am. It's aptly named Death of the Daleks, because it's like, every other part there's a death of a Dalek, no pun intended, but, you know, and what is irritating though, as a fan of the Daleks, is the fact that, you know, throughout this story, there's people saying, oh, the Daleks my father died in the last Dalek battle, obviously I'm not going to trust them, and the Doctor's like, oh yes, they're evil, they'll just dispose of you as soon as you stop being useful, which is true, and there are other stories to back that up, but less so here, as well as the fact that they're not that powerful, which is all well and good, but when people say they're the deadliest race of all time in the history of ever, and then they just get their ass handed to them by fucking rock monsters, it's hard to take seriously, you know, which is true. They do as well. The Exelons beat the shit out of them with a bunch of sticks and bow and arrows. How? I tell you, how? And then the funny thing is, though, then when it sets on fire and they're dancing around it, that was hilarious. I found that funny as. Then the other two Daleks get killed by the root creature, which is okay. I mean, the root creature, I'm not a massive fan of. I've never particularly cared for it or liked it. And that myself. And then the last one is very peculiar. The Dalek just basically doesn't guard or keep an eye on the prisoners, with Sarah and that ginger lady, and they both escape, and then it basically goes, I have failed my mission, I have failed, and then starts spinning around, and then just dies, and I'm like, wait, so technically that Dalek just committed suicide, right? Like, what? Like, okay, you're the deadliest race in the history of ever, but commit suicide if you fail a mission. What? How does that work? So yeah, that was a bit peculiar, so yeah, it is kind of frustrating in that respect, you know, we're meant to believe that they're deadly, evil, you know, space Nazis, and in this episode they get their ass handed to them a lot. Also, another thing that I found very odd is, how was the Dalek able to do that maze thing with where the Doctor had to get his hand or his finger through the maze thing and that on the wall, and that the Dalek would have used its plunger, I guess, maybe? I don't know. I don't mind the Dalek design here, the Dalek design being silver and black. It's not my favourite design, but it's not the worst design of the Daleks. However, what is two positives of the Daleks in this story that I can think of off the top of my head, saving me from being completely negative and shitting all over the story, two positives for the Dalek would include the fact that in this episode they're quite unique in the sense that they've got a different weapon. Instead of just a normal sort of laser blastery type weapon, they've got these almost pseudo machine gun type weapons, which are more primitive than what they normally have, but they work on Exelon. And the reason why they don't, or their normal weaponry doesn't work, is because of the fact that the beacon in the Exelon city causes sort of disrupts their weaponry, basically, so they've got to go back to the drawing board. So they've got different weaponry in this episode, so that's unique to this episode. As well as, I'm not sure of this, don't quote me on this, but this might be, if not the first, but if not the first episode to do this, maybe one of the earliest classic Doctor Who episodes to do this with the Daleks, but have a POV and or point of view sort of thing from the Daleks' perspectives, i.e. just a silver tube, basically, and that, which I like. It's definitely something that obviously gets picked up much later in both the classic series, and then definitely gets solidified into the new series, because the technology's there to just do that very easily. But it's nice that they attempted it here as well, and that. Yeah, I can imagine the Daleks were quite difficult to use in this story, because there's a lot of sand and that, and so there's a lot of ramps that needed to be made. John Pertwee's decent here and that. He's not bad. He's not, 10 out of 10 by any means. I think he's suffices and he's sufficient for the story and that. He's your typical action hero. He's definitely karate chopping some people at the beginning and that. And he is good. And I would say his chemistry with Sarah Jane's really good, but for the fact that they don't really talk or have a lot of scenes and dialogue together in this story, which is a bit annoying. But that's mainly because there's another side character called Bilal, who I do like, and he is quite endearing because he's quite weak and or meek, a character, whereas obviously in stark contrast, John Pertwee's this sort of dapper, well, not macho, but alpha male, sort of strong, sort of action hero type. Whereas Bilal, as I say, is this weak, sort of bumbling, sort of weak, stumbling, sort of shy, not confident character. And I think what would have been cool is if Bilal was to have continued adventures with the Third Doctor and or the Doctor just generally, it'd have been cool to see him be more of a confident and, sort of take charge type character after being on adventures with the Doctor and that. But yeah, I love the Doctor's costume in this one for some weird reason. It's this sort of dark, maybe blue, sort of jacket with the cravat. Oh no, frilly shirt, sorry. Blue frilly shirt, but with red outlines and a red bow tie, of all things. But it works. The side characters are okay from Earth and that. And one of them is nice enough to, redeem themselves somewhat and blow up the Dalek ship at the end, as well as the Exelons are really cool. They're very simplistic but very effective, and that in being these sort of rock-type creatures and that. It's a shame that part 1 is very dark and atmospheric and that, and I love that, but by parts 3 and 4 it's less like that, and it's a lot of parts 3 and 4 is very much about being in the Exelon City, which is okay, but it's not great. The ending to part 1 is awesome. I love the ending to part 1, because you think everyone's going to die and that, and I'm fine with that cliffhanger, because then you get the fact that the Daleks have to change their weaponry, and then you get the scene with the Daleks testing out their weaponry, and then being a little tiny model of a TARDIS, and shooting that, which I thought was funny, at like a shooting range almost, which is just stupid but funny. What else? Yeah, it's almost like Temple of Doom as well, like Indiana Jones' Temple of Doom. They have scenes like that with the Exelons, and that. Fairly early on, trying to sort of sacrifice Sarah and that, which I liked. As I say, I'm not a massive fan of the root type creature. Bilal and the other sort of other type of Exelons are really actually better designed in my opinion. They've got almost this sort of glowing effect on them, and that, even though they don't have these shrouds and these hoods and that, but it's really cool because both Exelon, or types of Exelons, both have the similar sort of chameleon type ability to just sort of merge and or blend in with their backgrounds and surroundings, whether it be these dark sort of corridor walls or these sort of boulders and sandy quarry type place. So yeah, I mean, Overall, I'd give this Death of the Daleks probably a 6 out of 10. Almost said 10 out of 10. A 6 out of 10. It's not the best story ever. I do think because it's placed between Planet of the Daleks and Genesis of the Daleks, it's not the best Dalek story it's between two much better Dalek stories. But if it was placed somewhere else, I think I would give it a higher rate because I'd be less likely to compare it to what's gone before it and what had come after it. It's not the best Dalek story, and as I say, I can't really comment much on Jon Pertwee and the Third Doctor and Sarah's chemistry too much because they don't have a lot of scenes together. They are really good together when they are together, but they're not with each other a lot. And the only other Third Doctor and Sarah Jane Smith episode I have is the first episode with them, which is the Time Warrior, and obviously they don't get along there, but they're not meant to because they've only just met, sort of thing. But yeah, I'd give Death to the Daleks a 6 out of 10. It's just a sort of above average Doctor Who story, but it pains me saying that because obviously it's got the Daleks in, so I expect better. I expect a stronger story from a Dalek story because it's got the golden oldies, the bad guys of the Doctor or the main show's baddies, and they're part of the DNA of the show, and as I say, I expect better. So yeah, 6 out of 10. It's an okay story. Thanks for watching, comment, rate and subscribe.